Hey, people. Happy Saturday. This morning, well, at least it's morning for me. It's about 8 o'clock. This morning, we're going to go over the topic of exploitation and how to protect yourself from it. There's a lot of different ways that we can be exploited, that people can take advantage of us. You see a lot of exploitation with the elderly because they're not as adept at what's out on the internet and the information that's available as those of us who are a little younger. And so they're much easier to exploit, especially if someone calls them up and says, you either give me this information or the IRS is going to put out an arrest warrant and you're going to be thrown in jail. Which is total crap, but use scare tactics on people, and sometimes they'll comply just because they're scared. And I think that is about the most low-down thing that a person can do. Take advantage of somebody who's on a limited income and then try to scam them out of their money, which a lot of times they barely have enough money to get by as it is, and they try to scam them. I remember one time I was visiting Mom, and this guy called her and started threatening her and telling her, if she didn't do this and do that, the IRS was going to put out an arrest warrant for her and all this stuff. And I was kind of listening in, but I went in and got on the other line, on another phone in the house, and was listening to it. And finally, it was on a portable phone, so I came walking back in where Mom was and kind of motioned her to be quiet, which is hard to do. Anyway, I started talking to the guy and basically scared the crap out of him, and he hung up. It was a very short conversation once I got on there. So yeah, but they'll try to do it. There's so many scam calls that she'd get. It was just amazing. And she got to where anytime anybody would call, she would just cuss them out and hang up. So anyway, this information here is from a webpage that from the Department of Homeland Security, and it has some really good information in it. So I want to go over that. All right. The article starts out, exploitation and how to protect yourself. It says, general exploitation is treating a person unfairly to benefit from their work. Exploitation can involve the use of threats, manipulation, or force to get someone to do something they do not want to do for the benefit of another person. It can take many forms. It could look like an employer forcing an employee to work for little or no pay, or it could look like a romantic partner threatening harm if their partner doesn't perform as the X acts for money, drugs, or a place to stay. All right, so one of the ways that people attempt to exploit is false promises. Now look at this next image. It's a text conversation. I don't know if this is real or not, but it's just an example. The guy tells the girl, hey, you're stunning. You could make a lot of money looking like that. I can help you. And she says, thank you. How? I know a photographer looking for models. There's a photo shoot at my house this weekend you should come to. And of course, she smartly responds, oh no, I'm good. All right. Stuff like that. Anytime anybody contacts you and tries to make an offer like that, you need to be raising an eyebrow. It says, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Be wary of offers for jobs in fields that are typically hard to break into, such as modeling and acting, or offers in remote locations, faraway states, and foreign cities. Dangerous individuals may lure victims into isolation away from their friends and family. Indicators of a false promise or a false job promise could include The payment and the job description do not seem to match. For example, a high hourly salary for a typically low-paying job. The employer does not request any information about your previous work experience. That's a major red flag right there, because if it's a high-paying job, they want to know you got experience, if it's legit. The employer asks for a photo of you as part of the application process. Never, ever. Well, okay, there's an exception. If it's a local business that you're familiar with, you know it's legit, and they want a photo included with your resume, then I don't see a problem with that. But if it's not somebody you're familiar with and it's like out of the blue, sending you an email or something like that and wanting you to send a photo, no. Never. Okay. The employer asks a lot of personal questions about you that are not relevant to the potential job. Okay, for one thing, there is a lot of laws against what a prospective employer can ask you and what they can't. All right? They can't ask a lot of personal information. They can't even ask if you're married. I mean, there's just basically the only things that they can ask are questions that are relevant, to your work experience. Okay, the employer requests a substantial fee to cover the cost of uniforms or other expenses. No, they want you to wear a uniform. They can buy it. Okay, the employer asks you to keep the job a secret or lie about your age. All right, that right there, if a person wants you to be deceptive, wants you to lie, that right there tells you this is not a person you want to work for. And plus, they're probably just a scammer. All right, and the next one, which I accidentally put another number 1, but this is actually number 2. But anyway, is false promises of love. All right, let me tell you a story before I get into the next one, because this actually happened to me. All right, I had a gal, or I suppose it was a gal, it could have been a dude, who knows. And this person was really, really good and very patient. All right, now the ones who are really good like this will take their time. So anyway, this supposed gal contacted me on Facebook, and we started on Facebook Messenger, talking back and forth. And then eventually moved to texting each other, which, as I look back, that was really stupid on my part. Give this person my phone number. But it just shows how good they were. So anyway, we started talking, and we talked over a period of about 4 or 5 days. And it was just normal conversation. I mean, very normal conversation, and it was really good conversation. Like I said, this person was really, really good. And so I think we were talking like it was either on Saturday or Sunday. And anyway, we decided to meet. And this is when I was still in the Dallas area in Texas. We were setting up to meet to go have lunch. All right. She said, well, I'm out of town. I'll be back into town on Tuesday. And we can have lunch late afternoon on Tuesday. And I'm like, cool. So I even suggested a place. And so anyway, thought we had it all set up. Well, anyway, on Monday, I got a text from this person saying, hey, I've got a problem. I'm like, what is it? She says, I'm stuck in Mexico. I've got a railroad boxcar full of antiques worth $3,000. Now, I'm sorry, but, I don't know a lot about antiques, but I know enough to know that if you've got a whole railroad boxcar of antiques, it's worth a lot more than $3,000. So that was the first red flag right there. I'm going, what? And she says, but the Mexican government is charging me to get this across the border, and they want me to pay $1,600. She says, I spent all my money on the antiques. I don't have the $1,600 to get it across the border. Can you help me out? I'm like, no. Anyway, she pleaded with me, and we texted, most of the day, and she kept bugging me. And I kept telling her, I said, look, my policy is I will not send money to anybody that I have not met in person and have yet to develop trust with. And she says, well, I'll pay you when I get back repay you when I get back Tuesday. Well, if you don't have the money now, how are you going to repay me on Tuesday? Number one. And I would really see that money again. Anyway, she kept bugging me. And finally, I got upset. And I said, look, it ain't gonna happen. I don't know how many other ways I can say it. It's not gonna happen. I am not going to give you a dime. Get that through your head. I don't want to hear another word about it. So she's like, okay. And then never heard from her again. But I did send a follow-up text saying, yeah, for all I know, you're some fat dude sitting in your mama's basement on the computer. Which, it could have been. But anyway, that's just an example, and this person, talked with me for 4 or 5 days, or maybe even like a week. I don't remember exactly how long, but it was a substantial period of time trying to set me up. I mean, that was a lot of work for $1,600 because I'm sure that it would have increased from there. But also I had another gal that I worked with in an office when I was in Montana, and she was talking with this guy from Scotland. And the guy from Scotland kept telling her, yeah, I'm going to fly over there and meet you and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, he gives her this song and dance about that all his money was tied up and he couldn't liquidate it to get enough money to fly over, which is total crap because he was told her that he was like retired military and had this great pension and all this stuff. Well, anyway, she was going to pay to fly him over, and I told her, I said, do not send him a dime. He's a scammer. Well, it took me several days to convince her, but I don't remember exactly what happened, but she finally found out that he was a scammer. And then she thanked me later for talking her out of sending him the money. But see, that's what they do. They try to get you emotionally invested in them. Get your emotions stirred. And then they try to take advantage of you. Rule number 1, people. Anytime anybody asks you for money, cut them off. I don't care how emotionally invested you are in them. You need to protect yourself because if they're asking you for money, they're not legit. Hands down. Cut them off. All right. Now, this article goes on to say, individuals looking to exploit others will use emotional, mental, and financial support to gain trust and build dependency in potential victims. Indicators of a potentially exploitative relationship include if your partner demands that you tell them where you are at all times. Yeah, yo mama. You think I'm going to do that? All right, makes you ask for permission to leave the home or to socialize with others. Now, if that isn't a red flag to you, I don't know what is. I mean, most of this stuff is kind of like no-brainer. It limits your communications with friends, family, and loved ones. Don't ever let anybody do that. Never, 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 never. Threatens to hurt you or your loved ones if you don't do what they say. If they ever do that, contact law enforcement immediately. Holds on to your identification cards, other personal documents, or money. Okay, number 1, why would you give that to anybody? Don't ever. Okay, makes you feel unsafe to be around them. Provides you with financial support that requires you to ask for the money when you need it. Makes you work at a job where you do not receive your own paycheck. Forces you to perform sex acts for them or others for money or in exchange for other items of value like drugs. All right. Now look, people get scammed by this stuff, even though this should be no-brainer stuff. It really should. I mean, if you cite any of that, automatically, you're gone. All right, you're gone. And they're gone. All right, now, keeping yourself safe online safety. It says individuals looking to exploit others can gain access to potential victims online because they are not always aware of how dangerous online environments can be or how to keep themselves safe. They oftentimes actively stalk online meeting places like social media sites to lure their victims. Okay, my case is a perfect example. Getting a hold of me on Facebook and Facebook Messenger. All right, then it says, below are several safety tips to keep in mind while online and using social media. Don't share personal information where you live, work, go to school, or details about your personal life. Okay, remember I talked about that if you watched a couple videos back, talking about teenagers sharing their personal information online. Not a good idea. All right, set your profile to private so only your friends in real life can get access. Okay, never accept a friend request from someone you don't know in real life. Don't share photos with anyone that you wouldn't be comfortable with your parents, guardians, or friends seeing. Okay, you can tell, but a lot of this is geared more towards adolescence. But it's still good information for you parents to share with the kids, right? It says if you do share a photo and someone uses it to threaten or blackmail you, you have options. Talk to a trusted adult about how to protect yourself or get help. Or call the cops. If you plan to meet someone you met online in person, it should be in a public setting like a restaurant or coffee shop, and let a trusted friend know who, where, and when you are meeting. All right, it might actually be a good idea to share with a couple of friends and stay in constant text contact with them. Text them when you get there. You could text them when you see the guy coming so they know when the guy is arriving. And kind of give them a time frame. Set a time frame, like if you're going to go meet someone, say for coffee, give yourself an hour. Just because it's just a situation like that. You're just meeting someone to kind of get to know them a little bit, see if you're compatible. And so, you don't need to be there any longer than an hour. Excuse me. Still trying to get over this junk. Ugh. All right. Do your research on a job offer that seems too good to be true by reading reviews on company rating websites or reaching out to a current or past employees to validate information about the job. All right. If someone isn't who they seem to be, or you think you're being lured into a potentially exploitative situation, tell a trusted adult. Or if you're already an adult, report them. And cut them off. Okay, reporting the person could help stop them from potentially exploiting other people. And this is what I've said several times. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong about a conversation you are having with someone online, stop the conversation and block the profile. Extremely good advice. All right, now, the final portion of the article says how to get help. And there are some really, really good, places that you can get help. Here, we'll go over here real quick. Okay, if you or someone you know is experiencing an exploitative situation and needs help, you can tell a trusted adult what is happening. That's if you're an adolescent. Call 911 or local law enforcement if you or someone else is in immediate danger, which is kind of a no-brainer. Call 888-373-7888 or text help or info to BeFree 233-733. The National Human Trafficking Hotline takes calls from victims and survivors of human trafficking and those who may know them. It can help connect victims with service providers in the area and assist in reporting their situation to trusted law enforcement contacts. The trafficking hotline is a national toll-free hotline available to answer calls from anywhere in the country 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in English, Spanish, and more than 200 other languages. The trafficking hotline is not a law enforcement or immigration authority and is operated by a non-governmental organization. Okay, call 800-THE-LOST, 800-843-5678, or go to reportcybertip.org to report suspected child sex trafficking, extortion, online enticement, or sexual abuse material to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC. NCMEC is a nonprofit organization available 24/7 to work with families, victims, private industry, law enforcement, and the public to support the identification, location, and recovery of child sex trafficking and child sexual exploitation victims. NCMEC also has online safety materials for parents and kids available at, and then there's a couple of links there for you to find out more information. Then I would suggest that you go to those because there's some good, I've looked at them, there's some good information on there. All right. Call 866-347-2423 to report suspicious criminal activity to the Homeland Security Investigations HSI tip line. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. Highly trained specialists take reports from both the public and law enforcement agencies on more than 400 laws enforced by HSI, including those related to human trafficking. HSI agents responding to reports are specifically trained on a victim-centered approach to stabilize victims and connect them with support services, including providing immigration relief for qualifying victims. You can also submit an anonymous tip online via the HSI tip form at, of course, that's the ICE website. All right, so a lot of resources for you there. There's a lot of good articles on those sites. There's a lot of, tells you exactly how to go about reporting things and your rights and all that. It's some really good stuff. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you today because, for some of you it may be a little redundant. You may already know a lot of this stuff, especially if you are like me and have had people try to take advantage of you. And you learned real quick, what to do, what not to do. But hopefully this has been helpful to you. And anyway, have a good rest of your weekend. We shall see you later.